Welcome back. Driving around the Woodward facility, we found kids engaged in lots of different activities. Maverick, who was our tour guide for the day, gave us a snapshot of what a camper's day is like.
They all attend class for approximately 2 to 2.5 hours every single day. They're required to do that. And the rest of their day, they can choose to do as they would like, whether it's more scheduled activities that we have for recreation or a continuation of their instructional programs, or just free time.
In addition to the 5 gymnastic facilities and 21 areas devoted to action sports, there is also an unbelievable number of outside activities for the campers. For extracurricular time, there is a go-kart track, a swimming pool, horseback riding, paintball, a rock climbing wall, high ropes course, an arts and crafts area, a recording studio, and yes, even a mechanical bull.
There are lots of things that you can do outside of what you're passionate about, whether it's gymnastics, flipping, twisting, and riding your wheels. It doesn't really matter.
Several of the recreational opportunities as well as new facilities are provided by one of Woodward's many corporate sponsors. Bringing corporations on board benefits the campers in some way, like Target Plaza, a huge outdoor street park funded by the retail giant and built by California Skate Parks. It may seem odd for a camp to have corporate sponsorships, but with Woodward's reputation as a training ground for future professionals in action sports, the sponsorship dollars aren't all that surprising. Speaking of professionals, their presence at Woodward is one of the major bonuses for the campers.
A lot of our pros are more like our extended family, and a number of them started off as rather talented riders, and they came here in the early stages of our action sports camp to hone their skills and to improve, and obviously they got a lot better. We basically asked them if they're interested in coming, and 100% of the time usually they are. And a lot of them say, I would come here and work for free. But obviously we offer them something in return, and we schedule them here. And they're a great draw, not only for other pros, but also for all of our campers. Because where else do you get to spend time with your idols, eating with them, riding with them, enjoying all the recreational stuff with them?
In fact, as we drove around the facility, my videographer Aston kept pointing out professionals who were standing in line for lunch or hanging out in a television lounge with the kids. I admit, I don't follow action sports very carefully, so I had no idea that I was talking with Steve McCann, professional BMX rider who would wind up with 2 silver medals in the 2010 X Games, one in freestyle vert and one in freestyle big air. Aston was having a heart palpitation, and I was chatting about a tennis match that Steve was watching. Meeting Steve, who was a perfectly pleasant guy with a lovely Australian accent, got me wondering just what life is like for an action sport professional. To answer my question, Maverick hooked me up with Ryan Gutler, another great guy with a groovy Aussie accent. Again, I calmly asked the questions while Aston went into cardiac arrest. So, talk to me about what life is like being a pro.
It's pretty crazy being considered a pro for just riding a kid's bike, I guess. Like you said, not many people can think that you can take this path, but it's actually really entertaining, really amazing, and it's just caught on because I guess the way I kind of look at it and see it is, say a big company like Monster Energy Drink, that's one of my sponsors, and they battle with Red Bull, they battle with Rockstar, all those energies, so they just need to one-up each other, and one of them is just getting younger kids, and so they get an action sport athlete that might do contests or get on podium and be like, okay, we're going to grab him, we're going to market him, we'll give him a bunch of money and a lot of free product and whatever he needs, and we'll run a sticker, and instead of doing like a $100,000 TV commercial, they just put it on us and we get the TV time for them, and kids look up to it, they see us drinking it and whatnot, and then it's just then Red Bull sees it like, well, if Monster is grabbing an athlete, we got to grab an athlete, and then that's kind of how the market came about to even us getting paid and being a pro.
Gutler is 26 and has been riding since he was 5. He has his childhood babysitter to thank for getting him started.
It's just me and my brother, so we're scared of girls' germs and stuff. So got our mum to get a guy babysitter, and he was 16, and he rode at the local skate park, and he was like, instead of sitting at home playing video games, we're going to take you to the track, and you're gonna watch me ride if that's what I got to do. And first day I was just like, Mum, Dad, get me a bike right now. Like, I'd never seen it, never even knew it existed, and here's this kid like taking hands and feet off his bike and jumping, and I was like, that's my sport, and I got into it. And then through high school I kind of concentrated more on school, but then I've never found anything that gives me the same feeling as BMX. It's not a team sport, you don't have a coach, you don't have trainers, you just go at your own pace, and I just like pushing and learning it every day and pushing my limits, and there's nothing better than putting a hard trick in my head and just being like, that is so unrealistic, and then just working on it every day, and then after a while, as soon as I land it, it's the best feeling in the world, and I can't find it in anything else I do.
Coming to Woodward is part of his preparation for the competitions on the BMX circuit.
I live in Greenville, North Carolina. I ride there a lot, and then this is just, it's different to ride different ramps, and here they have a lot of ramps and a lot of new people. So I get kind of comfortable at home, and then to switch it up, I'll come here to camp and ride these ramps, and then when I get real comfortable on these ramps and I don't really feel like I'm pushing it or learning anything, and then I'll move on and ride something else.
After 8 seasons on the professional tour, Ryan still pushes himself to get better.
Every day you got to stay one step ahead of the game. If I slack or just ride and don't really push my limits or push myself as a sport, then one of these little kids are going to take my spot.
There are BMX tours overseas as well as in the US. Choosing competitions is up to each rider.
You can be as busy as you want, and you can just only pick like the tough contests to do. So the ones that I concentrate on, I'll do some overseas contests, and then it's more like do action sports, X Games, Vans Triple Crowns and stuff like that. So I just pick kind of like the higher ones and concentrate more on them.
Passion for the sport is far more important to Gutler than any of the trappings that come with his ranking on the circuit.
For me, it was always just loving riding, because you go through all the injuries and whatnot. So if you don't love the sport and you're just in it for the money, you'll never last, because we've been through some serious crashes and a lot of heartaches, and then just riding in the heat and riding when you don't want to ride and whatnot. So yeah, I just love the sport and got into it that way, and then the sponsors and whatnot just came later.
Unfortunately, after we shot this interview, Ryan's season was cut short by a shoulder injury at the Dew Cup Tour stop in Chicago in July, which resulted in surgery in August, keeping him off his bike for 2 to 3 months. There are many talented professionals at Woodward during any given week. I met Keith Schmidt from Lock Haven, who you saw riding his BMX in the opener for this episode. Keith performs stunt shows around the United States, and he offered to show me one of his standards. I think I had the scarier job in this situation. In addition to professionals who come for a week or more, Woodward also hires instructors who work with the campers every day.
The first thing that we always try to do with our instructors is find out the folks who are great teachers. They may not always be the best at what they do, and that includes all of our programs. You're not always going to have the Olympic gold medalist in the gym or the X Games gold medalist, out in the action sports areas. You're going to find somebody who works really, really well with kids and can communicate very well with them and interact with them very well.
Each sport has a camp director, and they, along with the staff, organize events for the campers. We stopped by a skateboarding contest at the playground, complete with announcers and music, and then crossed over to Lot 8 to find a BMX high jump competition in full swing. Along with the instruction and opportunity to use world-class facilities, Woodward campers have an environment that supports their lifestyle and their passion.
Back in the 80s, early 90s, up until the X Games, these were supposedly the troubled kids, the kids that didn't fit into society, but the only reason they didn't fit in is because we were providing them nothing to fit in with. We were saying that everything they did was wrong and bad. To switch that around, these kids have turned into be the movers and shakers.
Even though action sports have become mainstream, Woodward continues to give kids a place to work on their skills and explore the lifestyle that has arisen from the action sport culture.
And that's why Woodward has somewhat flourished in this environment, because you've matched this traditional camp setting of a non-parent environment, with this sort of lifestyle function of a new way of living your life, which these youth are creating for us.
As with their move into action sports in the 80s, Woodward continued to look to the future when they added digital photography and digital video to their offerings. Originally, these were activities for the campers, but now they've been put in the lineup as camps unto themselves.
Knowing that we're sort of a content-rich environment, that's when we started now having our separate standalone camps that relate to first video. Then we added photography. This year we added graphic arts. Next year we're going to basically, right in this area, create a art district.
Now, aspiring photographers, cinematographers, and graphic artists will have an even larger presence at Woodward.
And so this area here is going to be a skatable art area. The office here is going to become a coffee shop. There's going to be a new complex right behind us that basically the first floor of that whole complex is all going to be relating to this creative art zone. And it's going to be a year-round facility, world class.
Woodward has a history of developing talent by providing the facility and training, first for aspiring gymnasts and then in action sports. Once again, they are ahead of the curve in the digital and graphic arts.
We're developing some unbelievable youth talent as it relates to the creative arts that we think will be the mechanism of Woodward in the future.
Continuing to give today's youth what they're looking for requires visionary thinking by Reem and his team at Woodward.
There's no question there's a vision here. There's no question that that vision is reloaded on a 6-month basis. And that's how this moves and shakes. We do have a plan. We do have something that's down on paper. We do adjust this thing every 6 months.
Not only does Woodward have brick and mortar locations internationally, it is now the star of its very own TV show titled, appropriately, Camp Woodward. Just after the break, we'll introduce you to the people behind that Fuel TV show.